Hello, my lovely friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Yani, and in today's video, we are doing another book haul. I'm pretty sure this is not like the fourth, maybe the third book haul on this channel, but what can I say? I'm addicted to buying books that I will take months to read. If you're a reader, you resonate. Did I need books? Should I have been buying books? No. However, I have zero regrets. I'm just so excited to show you all the books that I have purchased. Now, I have 7 books here, and I have an interesting mix, so let's just jump right in. So this first book is a book that I have been influenced to read by social media, and that is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. It is time, my friends, for me to read Dostoevsky. I have wanted to read him for a while. However, I've been very intimidated. I actually made a video a little bit ago about books that intimidate me, and I kind of had this section within that video called The Russians, because the Russians intimidate me. But I have seen so many excerpts from this book, so many quotes, that I'm just like, hold on, what am I missing out on? And I just didn't want to be missing out anymore. So I think it's time for me to read Crime and Punishment. Now, this is not my first Dostoevsky, but it's my first Dostoevsky that has weight to it. You know what I mean? Like, this is a big boy. It's 500, 600 pages. This is a big boy, okay? So the other Dostoevsky book that I read was White Nights, which was basically a pamphlet. And I can't say that I loved it. However, I don't think anyone would ever argue that that's Dostoevsky's best work. Okay, so all this talking, what is Crime and Punishment about? I want to go into this knowing as little bit as possible, so please do not tell me anything that I don't want to know. But from what I understand, this is about a person. I don't even know if it's like a man, probably a man. It's about a man who commits a murder and the psychological impact of that murder as the book goes on, and how that impacts him and people in his, vicinity. And I think somebody's also investigating the murder and trying to get to the bottom of that. Now, I'm not sure how accurate my assumption of what this book is about is, but that is what I believe it's about. And if I read the back, it is a preternaturally acute investigation of the forces that impel a man towards sin, suffering, and grace. That sounds lovely. Now, the thing about Dostoevsky that I've heard is that he likes to talk. Dostoevsky loves to go on for a long time, and I don't know how I feel about that. I have no idea how I'm gonna feel about this book, but I'm intrigued, and I've seen Dostoevsky quoted so much that I'm like, I'm officially missing out. So Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, that is the first book in this book haul. Now, when am I gonna read this? No idea, but my intention is actually to maybe read it on a plane. I have a very long 20-hour flight in my very near future, so maybe this is when me and him are gonna get acquainted, possibly. The second book I'm so super excited about. Now, I'm technically excited about all of these, that's why I bought them, but especially this one. And before I tell you what it is, I want to tell you why. And it is because every single personality quiz, every single what kind of reader are you, what's your genre, everything that I'm like, whenever I've looked up a book that I like to see what other books I might like based off of that, this is always number one recommended on the top of the list. And I've put it off long enough, but if every single list, every single recommendation, every single analysis, every single ChatGPT prompt tells me that this is a book that I would love based off my reading taste, I'm like, I should pay attention to that. So the book is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I'm not sure if I pronounced his name right. I sure hope so. But this is what that looks like. This one won the Nobel Prize in Literature, which is obviously a really big accomplishment, and that makes me even more curious. And I know very little about what a lot of these books are about. Okay, so Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is about, I believe, 3 adults who were close as kids in an environment that they didn't quite understand, and then they grow up and they reunite and they start to reflect upon this environment, which I believe was a school, and the ways in which that was weird and odd. I don't know if that's correct. I have no idea if that's a correct assessment, but that is what I know. And the fact that it's recommended to me as a book that I, in particular, me would love, and It won the Nobel Prize in Literature. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. So, based off the back, as children, Kathy, Ruth, and Tommy were students at Hailsham, an exclusive boarding school secluded in the English countryside. It was a place of mercurial cliques and mysterious rules, and teachers were constantly reminding their charges of how special they were. Now, years later, Kathy is a young woman. Ruth and Tommy have re-entered her life, and for the first time, she's beginning to look back at their shared past and understand just what it is that makes them so special. So yeah, so when it comes to this 20-hour flight that I'm going to be on, this is a contender for the book that I'll read. It's between this and Dostoevsky for sure. I'm very curious about this one. This has been on my list because I have always picked it up without ever needing to be recommended it. I would always read the back and I'm like, okay, whatever, put it back. Pick it up, put it back. Pick it up, put it all the time. I'm picking it up and putting it back. But I picked it up. And I have extremely high hopes that this is my next favorite book based off like everything's recommendation. My goodness, I hope they're right. So that's Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. And again, I apologize if I have pronounced that name wrong. This next book I actually found on TikTok, okay? I have yet to be recommended books off of TikTok until now. And the book is called Silence by Shūsaku Endō. Again, I'm so sorry for these pronunciations. Please don't kill me. But this is what that looks like. Now, this is a book about a man who is very deep in his faith. He's like a representative of his faith to the bigger organization. And this is 17th century Japan, so not modern times. In particular, I believe he's a Christian. And it's dangerous at this time to be a Christian in this part of the world. And from my understanding, he becomes a prisoner and he starts to get brutally tortured and starts to just be deeply harmed because of the fact that he's a Christian and won't renounce it. And this is a book exploring why God stays silent during critical times. You know, he's praying and he's begging God for help and God doesn't answer. And that is a book exploring the concept of God's silence. And to me, that's like frosting on a cake, okay? I want to read all about that. Are you kidding? It looks like it's also being made into a movie by Martin Scorsese. No idea about a movie. I'm very intrigued to see what this author has to say about this particular concept. So yeah, that's the book, and that is Silence by Shūsaku Endō. I'm so sorry, bro. I'm so sorry. I have just 3 more books on the pile. So next up, we have The Trial by Frank Kafka. I have been wanting to read The Trial for so long, and I'm happy to finally have my hands on a copy. Now, The Trial is about a man who gets randomly arrested, but nobody will tell him why. And that's very interesting to me. I want to see and read about where that goes. I think this is a book that probably has a lot of commentary. I am recently getting a lot more into exploring different schools of thought. I did a video recently just breaking down like the philosophies of Buddhism. I'm going to be doing a video about the philosophy of Rumi, and I would love to do a video about the philosophy of Kafka. I want to see what happens to this man. I want to see how someone navigates their mind when they're arrested and not told why. I mean, I want to see how he approaches it, and that's why I'm really interested in reading The Trial. And if you're interested in seeing a video about the philosophy of Kafka, let me know and I will try to push it towards the top of the list a little bit more. I have to read more of his text before I make that video, but this is a really, really good place to start. This next book is a play, and that is 12 Angry Men by Reginald Rose. Okay, so I don't like reading plays. It is not my thing. It's not my thing. I've read a couple. It's not my thing. However, I'm so interested in what this play is about. So 12 Angry Men, to my understanding, it's about a courtroom. It's a courtroom drama. This is about a courtroom and there is a jury, and I believe it's one person who has a different opinion than everyone else, and the play is chronicling that one person kind of poisoning the well. I am curious to see courtroom influence, and this is a very regarded play, and I would love to read it and then watch an adaptation. I'd love to see it live, but who knows. And yeah, that's 12 Angry Men. Just, 12 men in the courtroom, and I think one person who's against the grain convincing the rest. So that's 12 Angry Men. And then I have one final book, and it is called Playground by Richard Powers. What a beautiful cover. It's kind of had like this holographic effect going on. It's so hard for me to even try to explain what this book is about, and I haven't read it yet, so I don't have a deep enough understanding to be able to summarize it, but I will do my best. To my understanding, this is a book about 4 different people, so you're following 4 different perspectives or life stories. I'm not too sure if they intertwine, but they live in an island somewhere in Polynesia. And this is kind of exploring the concept of Earth and how we use the Earth. I do believe that this has some allegory towards our environment. If not the whole thing is a thing about our environment, but it explores the fact that we haven't yet really taken over the ocean. We haven't like lived in the ocean. We haven't colonized the ocean. And I think what this book is exploring is the last area of the globe that humankind hasn't completely totally touched, right? I mean, we've definitely impacted the oceans, and we've made our mark on the ocean, but we haven't inhabited, we haven't formed colonies and societies in the ocean. And I think this book explores what if, and I think that's why it's called Playground, because Earth is our playground, and I love that. So that's all I can really tell you, because that's all I understand, but I'm very interested to read it. It has esteemed reviews, which really brings my expectations up high. Overall, I'm just kind of excited to explore this story. I'm really trying to get more into non-fiction that is fiction, if you know what I mean, like non-fiction that's narratively told. And I think this is a story that centers a lot of scientific proof, so I'm excited. But yeah, that is it, my friends. I really just wanted to talk to you about some of the books that I have recently purchased. Tell me if you've read any of these, if you're curious about any of these, if you are buying any books and you shouldn't be like me. I really want to know. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please stay tuned for future videos, and I will see you next time. Bye.